Sup nerds, I'm CuppaJoey and welcome back to another episode of r/entitled parents. Because we all know that there are some people that think that they're entitled to special treatment just because they dropped a sprog, even if it's from that sprog themselves. Let's have a look. My parents cut my beard when I was sleeping. My parents had a strict clean-shave policy when I was growing up, but now I am an adult and now live on my own. I had grown a kind of long French beard during the lockdown and was visiting family once the travel restrictions were relaxed. My parents are hardcore Islamophobes and they were horrified seeing my quote-unquote Muslim beard, and they asked me to shave it because people might think I had converted to Islam and it's going to tarnish my family's reputation. I basically told them to F off and mind about their pubes rather than my beard. Today I was sleeping on the couch and my mum cut my beard off, and now it's an ugly mess and I have no option but to shave it off, and I can't freaking leave this place as I am under 14-day home quarantine as I travel from another state, and I feel like they have won for now. Well, there are just so many parts of this that are completely effed up. First of all, I think that having a clean shave policy or any kind of hairstyle policy for your kids is incredibly harmful for them. Give an example, my dad grew up in the 70s, he was a teenager in the 70s where it was super cool to have long hair. His father forced him to have short back and sides because, we're not having a bloody hippie in my house. And yeah, my dad just was really miserable throughout that time. This won't surprise some of you to know, as I think I've spoken about it before, but when I was a teenager, I was a goth, or at least tried to be a goth the best I could, with what limited freaking resources I had. And for a certain amount of time as a teenager, I had this long black hair. I used to gel it up so it was in this messy style. And you know what? Eventually, I cut it off because that was what I wanted. And it was great for me to be able to experiment with different styles. The relationship between my dad and his father is strained, to say, to speak about it the kindest. And my dad is my best friend, so that is the kind of relationship that you're gonna end up having if you make those weird kinds of rules. Okay, now that's even before addressing the fact that she cut his beard in his sleep. Like, have you not heard of body autonomy, that, he's a grown adult that is able to do as he wishes? Like, to just say, you know what, no, if you're going to be here, I want you to do, you have to look a certain way. And to do that while he's sleeping, that's just so messed up. It's seriously messed up. Like, it's like it is the same as cutting someone's hair while they sleep. Which, if I'm mistaken, there was a case where cutting someone's hair without their consent was actually ruled to be an assault. So, she's technically assaulted her kid while he's asleep. Also, the reasoning, damn, I mean, we don't want we don't want the neighbours to think that you've converted to Islam. First of all, if he has converted to Islam, then that's his choice, and that would totally be fine, because it isn't an inherently bad thing. And who gives a damn what the neighbours think? I mean, of course, they're Islamophobes, so they're gonna think that this is a bad thing, but for God's sake, just freaking grow up. I mean, come on. Entitled's mother lets her kid steal my blind cane. So a bit of backstory. I'm a 28-year-old woman who just recently went fully blind. When I was a teenager, I volunteered with my local youth group to help rebuild Mississippi after Hurricane Katrina, and while down there I picked up a fungal parasite called histoplasmosis that over a decade migrated to my eyes and slowly caused blindness. I've been totally blind for about a year now, so I'm pretty new to it, but I digress. Jeez, that really sucks. Sorry, but oh my goodness, she was blinded because she was trying to help people. That's genuinely heartbreaking. Gosh, okay, moving on. When I first went blind, I barely left the house and was afraid to go in public. I felt like everyone was staring at me, and in all honesty, I barely knew what I was doing. The transition had been difficult, and I didn't have any support group to teach me. One day, my husband asked me if I could take an Uber down to the bank and deposit a recent check, and I reluctantly agree. While out, he messages again and reminds me that we're out of a few crucial groceries. There was a Walmart grocery literally across the street from the bank, so I figured everything in life is an experience and I'll have to learn how to shop alone eventually, so why not? Everything was fine at first, and I was only grabbing a few things, so I didn't need a cart. I was using my cane and what little echolocation skills I had at the time to get around, but was still bumping into things as we blind tend to do sometimes. My cane suddenly hit something a bit softer, and I figured maybe I'd whack someone's leg and apologise. Cue entitled kid and entitled mother. Me. Shoot, I'm sorry. Entitled mother. Hey, you just hit my son! Me. I'm so sorry, ma'am. I didn't see him there. Entitled mother begins yelling. How could you not see him? He's clearly right there. Now, I'm fully blind, but I don't wear sunglasses. Mostly because I can't afford a good UV blocking pair, but also because I'm never looking for pity or to play the part of a generic blind person. I just want to be treated like a normal person, but I do understand her confusion as blindness is a spectrum, so I try to calmly explain. Me. Ma'am, I'm blind. I can't see anything, let alone your son. That's why I have to use a cane, so I can get around without... She cuts me off. If you're blind, why aren't you wearing big sunglasses? Now, as a blind person, I get a lot of stupid questions, but I can understand a lot of them are just people who don't know better, so I try and happily answer as many as I can. Me. Those are really expensive. Around $200 for a good pair, and I really don't need any inside. Entitled mother. You're not blind, you're faking it. Here is where my blood starts to boil. I can't think of any reason someone would want to pretend to be blind. It's an actual hell, and nothing pisses me off more than when someone calls me a liar when I'm not. Just as I'm about to respond, I feel a tug, and before I blink, I realise this little demon spawn has snatched my $100 cane from my hands. For those of you who don't understand, it's like if you're shopping and suddenly the power goes out and you can't see a single light. Without my cane, I can barely move at all without crashing into anything. My voice gets shaky as I begin to panic. Please give that back, I really do need it. Entitled mother, no you don't, you liar. My son deserves to play with this more than you. I hear her shuffle away and my expensive cane cracking into metal displays and such as they leave. I start crying and waving my arms in front of me to grab onto something, anything, and end up crashing and falling into a central display, making a loud scene. Without fail, I somewhat curl into a ball and cry. I'm alone in public, in the dark, and I had no idea what to do. Suddenly I feel a hand on my shoulder and a man's voice. We'll call him AG for awesome guy. Ask if I'm okay and to stay right there. I do, but begin to at least sit up and listen. This man must have been tall and built like a tank because his footsteps sounded like a giant and I felt a suction of wind as he took off. Maybe about 30 or 40 feet away, I hear this loud bellowing like an angry lion and a loud crash. Then before I know it, the man is back and helping me to my feet. He takes my hand and puts my cane into my palm and helps me pick up the items I dropped when I fell into the display. Me, wiping my tears from my cheeks. Thank you so much, I didn't know how to handle that. Awesome guy. Don't worry about it, some people are just monsters. This guy restored my faith in humanity and even helped me finish shopping and helped me out of the store. As we're leaving, I can hear the familiar screeching of entitled mother, something about awesome guy grabbing the cane and pulling hard, flinging her little devil child into a shopping cart. I don't know if she was exaggerated or not, but it would explain the crash I heard. It's easy to feel alone in the world without sight, but even through sheer terror of being stripped of my cane, at least I now know that there are people willing to stand up for me when I need it. Edit, because of the sheer overwhelming amount of people asking, if you're blind, how are you typing? I'll first answer with my fingers, and secondly, I'm using a screen reader called Narrator that reads the screen. Whenever my cursor or finger is over the screen, it reads. When I type a letter, it reads. Guys, just, Google it or something. So, if you've got any shred of humanity in you, this will be one of those stories that just makes you really freaking angry. If somebody is disabled, then you need to make extra allowances. Which means that if you... I'm just going to assume that the kid didn't see her coming. Like, he had his back to her or something, which, can happen. But if you see somebody coming towards you with a cane, you move out in a freaking way because it is obvious at that point that they can't see you. If you get hit by a cane... Even if you did not know that they were coming and it was quite a surprise, you should still apologise for being in the way because they're going to feel pretty bad about hitting you with a cane in the first place. So, just the fact that she would... nobody's going around randomly hitting kids with sticks for fun in freaking supermarkets, right? Because that was the weird excuse that she was trying to make. You are just pretending to be blind. You're just playing with that cane. I'm sorry, but this woman is the same age as me. I'm 28 as well. I do not know anybody that would decide to play around with a stick, going around randomly hitting people and pretending to be blind to see if they can get away with it. It is an awkward freaking situation as it is. That is one of those awkward parts of life that nobody really wants to be in, but hey, it happens. It's like that thing, like when you step in front of someone and then you go to move to one side and then they move to the same side and then you go to move the other side and they do the same thing. No one freaking wants that to happen, but it happens because life is awkward. But just the fact that she would encourage the kid to take something from a disabled person that assists them, like it is an extension of their self. It is essentially like if you tried to take her arm off, right? Because that cane, for all intents and purposes, are her eyes. And to start saying things like, why don't you look like a stereotypical blind person? If you're really blind, why aren't you playing jazz in the 1920s? Like, what the hell? And just, like, to treat someone like that, like, all she wanted to do was go and do, like, a normal freaking errand. Just go to the bank, deposit a check, go pick up a few items, go home. Just an everyday thing that, we all do every day. It's just such a freaking normal thing. And she went out to do this normal thing and was confronted by somebody who she then had to try and explain her disability to. Like, why should she have to go through all of that emotional labour just because entitled mother is an entitled fart? But what Awesome Guy said is true. People can just be monsters. I wish that we knew exactly what happened when he went to retrieve the cane. Like, I wish we knew exactly what he did to the kid, and I really wish that the mother wasn't over-exaggerating as well. Because they're just so freaking horrible. I mean, to treat anyone like that, but especially to treat somebody like that who's disabled, is just such an extra level of disgusting. Why would you pick on somebody who is already in a vulnerable situation, I mean, I know that she just got her cane back and wanted to go home, and that's fair enough, but I really wish that there was some kind of comeuppance here. They deserve so much poor treatment. They deserve everything bad. I want them to get, like, to have a mosquito's eggs inside their butthole, so they have, like, permanent mosquito bites in their rectum. That's just, like, a lifelong thing, and that can be their punishment for treating this woman that way. I think that's freaking reasonable. Entitled's mother claims that she has connections to my dad. On mobile, sorry for any accidents if they occur. So this happened a few months back before the plague. Cast, me, EM, entitled mother, EK, entitled kid, but you know what, I read them out as full words anyway. So I used to work at a local shop, owned by my father, and I used to help out sometimes, and business was usually busy but not crowded in the shop. I have never had any customer come on with such a Karen ego as this woman. Entitled kid, was dragged in behind entitled mother, clearly not wanting to be here. The conversation went as follows. Entitled mother: excuse me? Me: yes ma'am. Entitled mother: my child is dehydrated and in terrible pain. This clearly was not the case, as the child looked fine and not pale at all. Me: okay ma'am, just find a drink and come and bring it to the counter and I can scan it straight away. Entitled kid: Mom, I'm thirsty. Entitled mother: don't worry darling, I'll get you something in a minute. They walked off and came back with a Pepsi and a water. Entitled mother placed the drinks on the counter and said to me, as usual, I expect these drinks to be free. Excuse me ma'am, but why would that be? I'm not familiar with my father's discounts. Entitled mother: I'm married to the owner of this shop, of course. Which she clearly wasn't, because my dad has a wife. Me: ma'am, that is wrong. You are not married to the owner of this shop. Entitled mother: of course I am. How would I know, you little poo? Me: ma'am, I am the son of this shop's owner. I have a mother, and that mother is not you. Entitled mother looks shocked and then attempts to steal the drinks from the shops. Luckily, we have security officer on the door managing people coming in, and he stops entitled mother in her tracks. He called the police and she was arrested, and the child was safely delivered to the father. I'm just glad I'm not him. I think that they mean, I'm just glad I'm not him, the kid was a nightmare. Oh gosh. Too long to read. Entitled mother claims to be married to my father to get free drinks. Sorry if this wasn't the best place. I haven't had so many situations with entitled parents as others have. No, I thought that this was a really good one. I really enjoyed the whole thing of like, no, I'm actually married to your dad. You just never realised it before. I mean, the fact that the guy is the son of the shop owner and, works there relatively often, or at least used to, and thinks that she can go, as usual, I expect to be free. This is clearly one of those situations where she thinks that if she goes up speaking really confidently, then it'll just, happen. Also, if, the kid was dehydrated, isn't that her fault as a mother for not making sure that her kid has enough to drink? I mean, damn, at least she was taken away because, that kid is going to be learning some really harmful lessons with a mother like that taking them around. But just to have that come back when she goes, of course I am, how would you know, you little poo? And then just be like, well, you ain't my mum. That's just a beautiful situation. Well, that's it for this episode of r/entitled parents. There are so many of these stories coming out every day, and they still freaking surprise me, even though at this point I really shouldn't be. Because, people are going to make demands that they really shouldn't be making regardless. And when you add kids into the mix, oh boy, of course they're going to use them. And as I say at the end of every episode, if you enjoyed hearing from this subreddit or would like to hear from any other subreddit, then do let me know in the comments. I do read and respond to them. And until then, I'll see you all next time.